JBN, we keep you informed, remembering Delroy Frame, killed by a cop for $30,000. Please remember to subscribe, like, share. Leave us a comment and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items. Lord Jesus, look what them do to me son, muttered 74-year-old Palmita Frame as tears flowed down her aging face. Him never deserve it. Lord Jesus, him never deserve it. Frame is the mother of 47-year-old taxi operator and the shopkeeper Delroy Frame, whose headless corpse was found in a gully in the Wild Cane area, and his burnt-out car was found less than a mile away in the White Sands district, St. Anne, on Saturday, May 9, 2012. Following police investigations into the gruesome killing, 24-year-old police constable Jeffrey Peart, who was on suspension from the force, and his sister Roxanne Peart were arrested and charged with murder and conspiracy to murder. A tearful Mrs. Frame, who looked a broken woman as she sat on the veranda of her logwood home in Hanover, surrounded by equally distraught family members, described her son as a special child. Him never left me and his father. Him built him house right as another same yard. His house is behind mine, said the mother of 10 children. Anytime we need anything, Delroy is always the first one to call, because him always around. In reflecting on the many enduring qualities of her son, Mrs. Frame said he was quiet by nature, but was well loved in the Logwood community because of his generosity and easygoing attitude. As a child, he was a good, nice little black boy who would never give any trouble, she recalled. Him never talk a lot, but when him do it, it was always some kind of joke. Like Mrs. Frame, Marcia Shirley, the deceased man's common-law wife of 21 years, looked absolutely perplexed as she contemplated a future without the man who fathered her 19-year-old son and a 17-year-old daughter. He was a good man, a caring father, sobbed Miss Shirley. I can't imagine what life would be like without him. I was the one who went to St. Anne to identify his body, and I'll never forget the sight of his body without the head, whispered Miss Shirley as she turned away to hide her tears. The deceased head has still not been found. The death has hit the entire family hard, as while Mrs. Frame has been getting by thanks to the support of her church family and medication prescribed by her doctor, her 85-year-old husband, who had a special bond with Delroy, is not doing so well. He has not stopped crying, said Mrs. Frame. He started crying from the first night Delroy did not come home, and the crying has increased since we discovered he was killed, she said. Him not eat and him not sleep. He spends all his time praying and crying. In looking at the incident, which is believed to have led to her son's death, Mrs. Frame said it all started with a car incident between her son's taxi and another taxi believed to be owned by the policeman in question. He demanded $30,000 from Delroy, but Miss Son said that he could not afford more than $20,000, the distraught mother said, recalling the story her son told her. The policeman refused the $20,000 and took away the car and the car papers. Mrs. Frame said her son made several attempts to retrieve his vehicle, but to no avail as the policeman insisted on being paid $30,000. After several trips without success, another policeman gave Delroy a number to call for help, the mother said. The number turned out to be that of the office of the Commissioner of Police, and Delroy told them what happened. A team of police investigators from Kingston were subsequently sent to Negril, and with Frames Corporation, a sting operation was set up. They put a tape recorder upon Delroy and marked the $30,000 he had to turn over to Constable Peart, the mother said. After the money was handed over, Peart was arrested. While she's unsure as to the circumstances under which her son ended up in Wild Cane, St. Anne, where his headless body was found, Mrs. Frame does not believe he went there on his own. I don't believe he went up there of his own free will, because he's not a man to make charters going out of Hanover, said Mrs. Frame. I think he might have been kidnapped or otherwise forced to go there. Constable Peart and several members of his family were taken into custody in the aftermath of the discovery of Frame's headless body. If it is because of that matter where the police were was killed, he died standing up for his right, said Mrs. Frame. I am putting the matter in God's hands. He will give me justice for my son. Constable Jeffrey Peart, who was stationed in Negril, Westmoreland, and his sister Roxanne Peart were jointly charged with murder and conspiracy to murder based on what the police claimed was compelling evidence against them. When the two appeared before the St. Anne Circuit Court on Thursday, October 31, 2013, prosecutors revealed that the lawyers representing both accused were absent and that they requested that the matter be set for November 19, 2013. Jeffrey Peart was represented by attorney Lambert Johnson, while his sister was represented by Ebert Mackenzie. Justice Courtney Day, who was presiding over the St. Anne Circuit, remanded the police officer until the next court date, while his sister's $500,000 bail was extended. Allegations against the siblings are that they devised and executed a plan to kill Frame. It is alleged that Peart's sister hired Frame to take her from Hanover to Wild Cane, a community where the policeman previously resided, as part of a plot to lure him to the area where her brother was waiting. She was not pointed out in an identification parade following her arrest. However, the trace of her phone calls placed her in the Wild Cane area and indicated that she was in contact with both Peart and Frame. Frame was reportedly a complainant and witness in a corruption case against the policeman who, prior to May 19, was before the court in Westmoreland on corruption charges. Following his arrest, Peart, 24, denied being in the parish at the time of the killing, although police reported that an eyewitness saw him in the community. Additionally, it is alleged that a trace of his cell phone placed him in the area. 3 spent shells from Peart's licensed firearm were allegedly found some distance away from Frame's burnt-out car. After 5 weeks of trial in the St. Anne Circuit Court, the 12-member panel of jurors deliberated for just over 2 hours before returning the guilty verdict. Peart, who showed no emotion throughout the trial, bowed his head on hearing the verdict, while his sister Roxanne, who was pregnant, cried while rubbing her stomach and dabbing at her eyes with a rag. The two were scheduled to be sentenced in the St. James Circuit Court on December 12 instead of St. Anne, because the judge will be in the western end of the island at that time. The siblings were sentenced in the Montego Bay Circuit Court in December 2014 to life in prison for the 2012 murder of Frame. Jeffrey Peart, who was 26 at the time, will be eligible for parole after 35 years, while his sister, who was 24 years old, will have to serve 16 years before she becomes eligible. The attorneys of Peart and his sister Roxanne have raised 12 grounds of appeal in the matter in June 2018. They were challenging DNA and ballistic evidence as well as call data records. The attorneys also had issues with the direction of the trial judge to the jury. The Crown argued that Roxanne Peart was instrumental in luring Frame to St. Anne and led evidence through call data records to show that she had been calling the deceased from May 17 to the 19th of 2012. They also showed that both accused persons were in the coverage area where the body was discovered. But Gillian Burgess, the attorney representing Jeffrey Peart, argued that the evidence presented to convict her trial is circumstantial. She contended too that her client was given a sentence that is usually reserved for multiple counts. Meanwhile, Roxanne's attorney, Carol DaCosta, argued that no evidence was presented by the Crown to show intention on the part of her client. I don't agree that this evidence of so-called luring satisfies the condition of intention to commit murder or indeed intention to lure to kill, she said. She noted that the prosecution relied heavily on mobile phone data to prove its case. Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Maxine Jackson, asserted that there was sufficient evidence to satisfy the requirements of common design. Peart and his sister lost their appeal on Thursday, June 18, 2020. After 4 days of submissions by defense attorneys and prosecutors, the appeal court upheld the convictions. However, the panel, comprising Justices Patrick Brooks, Jennifer Straw, and Frank Williams, decided to shave off 2 years from the mandatory prison time for the ex-cop to account for the time spent behind bars as he awaited trial. This means he will now have to serve 33 years before he may be released from prison. The judgment was handed down by Justice Brooks via Zoom. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.